Now we've been dealing with a lot of landlocked areas. Let's try something a little coastal. We looked at a little bit of the coastal erosion for the lakes in the mountains, but this time let's create a proper coast. So we want half of it to be land, maybe less, but at least half or more should be water. And maybe we can get a little bit of underwater features going on as well. So let's start by creating our main coast. So I'll go to generators and create a gradient. Now, because we're doing a very large coast, I think we need to change the size of our area. I think 14 kilometers should be good. So if we zoom out here, you can see this is where the coast will drop off. In the gradient, we can choose the width. I think this should be good. And I'll change the direction. Well, let's just keep it even for the moment. We can change it, and we'll try to do something with that a little later. In the layout view, I'm going to change the current extents a little bit because they're too far from the coast. So let's make it something like this. Okay. Now we have kind of a even footing. So this obviously doesn't look a lot like a terrain that we can use. So we're going to displace this. I'm going to create a simple purlin. We don't need anything very complex. And I'm going to create a simple displacement node. So we'll take the gradient and displace it using the purlin noise. So here, if I increase the strength, you'll see we're starting to get a proper coast. This is centered. If I uncheck it, you can see it flows in the other direction. We can change the direction as well. I think this looks pretty good. Right now we're repeating the edge values, so it just stretches it forward. But you can also say mirror interior values. But since we don't have anything at the edges to mirror, it's not going to make that much of a difference. So I'm just going to stick to repeat. It usually turns out to be slightly faster when you're building. So now we have the starting point of a coast. Let's create a Voronoi node, and let's see if we can change the shape just a little. Actually, what we had was pretty good because this is biased towards where the coast is. So I'm going to create a combiner. If we take a look, we now have a slight level of unevenness. To make it more interesting and a little less geometric, let's take the mask for the combiner and feed it back to the purlin noise. So that gives us that little fractal advantage of the Voronoi, but it still uses the purlin noise pattern to merge it. Let's see. If we average out, get a little bit of control over this. I'm not sure what add would do, but let's try it. This is actually not that bad. I like this line formation that it's creating. I think we can use it to our advantage. So this is pretty good. I think one of the other things I would like to do is, because this is hitting the maximum level of altitude that we have, I would like to lower it a little. So the easiest way is to use a bias gain filter, and let's see, this is good. It's creating a slight seafloor, and I like the terracing that's occurring here as well. But because of this complex structure, I think we'll have to leave this at 0.5. We can't get the ceiling to come down with a bias gain. This is where we will actually need to use the clamp. So if we go to the filter, and we'll find the clamp right here. And so the clamp will bring down the height. So it keeps the entire gradient alive, but it just lowers it from the top. Now, you could choose normalize input, so the floor is a little heightened, remains a little heightened, but the top is still down. So now we can do a little bit of erosion here as well, and that can help. I'm going to create another purlin noise, and this time I think I don't want it to be too noisy, so I'll make it slightly larger. I'll create a combiner that takes this and this, but I only want it to be merged at the very top, so just this much. And even now it's a little too much for me, so just lower it. This is good. So the main reason for doing this is that it's not just completely flat, and that just makes it look unrealistic and not that fun. This is a very good starting point. I think we can risk eroding it right away, and we will probably get to see some really cool shapes. So let's add our node, and we'll obviously have a decent amount of sediment carry. I always like doing this. Just go the lowest and then the highest, and that gives you an idea of what is achievable, and then you can find the sweet spot after that. I'm not sure if channel erosion will look that good, because then you start getting that really flowy pattern. I don't think that's something we really need right now. Even geological time enhancement takes away from this. And since we're focusing on a slightly distant coast that we'll be looking at from the water, I don't think we need to add too much detail. So I think this is pretty good. I'm just going to try the inverse filter to see if that helps. I think it will. It'll give us some of that flow line nature, but without actually doing too much of it. Now finally, this is where we bring in the coastal erosion. So to do that, first let's get the water level up. I think this is pretty good. And let's create right here the coastal erosion. And we'll check use global water level. And then you should have large beach sizes. I think because of the size of the beach, we're losing this cool formation out here, so let's change that a little. I think we'll have to go back to doing what we did before, just uncheck the use global water level, and we'll use a lower water level, but bring it high in the actual global water. Also, let's change this from smooth to cliffs. I think that will create something better looking. Still playing around with this just a little bit to see what else we can get. I think this is pretty good. The transition power, I think a very high transition power is good. We do want to smooth things underwater, but just not too much. Just one should be enough. Now this gives us a terrain to look at from afar. One of the things though is that we need some form of detailing on this, because right now it's looking too blank. And even though yes, there are places like that in the world, it's not realistic enough at the moment. So one of the things I'd like to try is see what it looks like if we equalize this. That's good. Get a stark transition right here. But I think more than this, we need to bring in our old friend, the simple transform. Sometimes simpler things do work better. And let's say if we were to create a cubic midlands and then glaciate it a little bit, not too much, just a little, and canyonize it to bring up these things. I'm not sure if the Midland Plateau will help. No, it's actually taking away. So So, okay. This looks better. So now this is turning out to be kind of like a small little, like a gulf. And it's not just a simple flat coast, we have this little interior. So this is good. Now I think if we do stuff to this terrain itself, we'll end up ruining it. So let's say if we wanted to add more here, like if we wanted to add some mountainous areas, the best way to do it would be to create a new Voronoi. I think this one's good. We just need better shapes, so let's try to find them. I think this might work. We may also need to equalize it to bring these up higher. There we go. And let's blend them with null. I think we need to lose some of the extra area, and we will do that by using the actual terrain as a mask. So now, like this. Oops, I think we need to swap the wires. So you can just right click and select swap inputs. And you'll see the inputs have been changed. So it's kind of like an inverse effect almost. So this is done. These are the mountains that we will erode a little bit and then combine them with the main terrain. So go back. This time we'll use a lot of geological time enhancement because we do want to lose most of the shape. We want lots of sediment carry, not so much that we lose everything, but just a little bit. And let's try for an inverse filter. I'll see if I can add a little bit of rock hardness, but not too much. And if we can remove this a little. Okay, there we go. I think this should be good. Again, I'm staying away from channel erosion because I don't want to introduce conflicting patterns. So now I'll add another combiner. So we take our original and then add this on top of it. To do that, we will just do a simple add. The add is actually too strong, so you can see the top part gets flattened. Let's get a better look. In fact, I'll increase the size of this window as well. So this time I think we may just need to try something different, like max can be useful, but our values aren't strong enough to escape the main terrain. We can try min. That might give us a little level of control, but then we lose a lot here. So I think we can also mask this, but that's not something particularly attractive to me right now because we will end up removing certain bits anyways if we do that. And by that I mean like the original terrain that we have, we lose some of it, and we did get it to a decent state. So I think power might be better. And this one can be masked to achieve the look we're aiming for. So again, let's select height and restrict it towards the top. There we go. We're getting some of it, but it's, again, as I had predicted, we're gonna lose this, so masking is not going to work that much. I think we need to work with a different blending method. Detail might actually work very well. As you can see, it's adding detail, but it's not destroying too much of this. And we can ensure that becomes even better by just changing the height of our blend. And the exponential. This time we can actually use linear because we had that nice plateau and we still have that slight terracing thing going on here. And there we have it.